Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. And Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavina Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Isopanisad Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 10th day of June, 2019, in San Diego, we're reading from Sri Isopanisad, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are still in the third verse, which we will chant again, and then I'll pick up the purport after the second paragraph, which is where we stopped. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavrata tangs te pretya bhigachanti ye ke chatmahano jana. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavata tangs te pretya bhigachanti ye ke chatmahano jana. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavata tangs te pretya bhigachanti ye ke chatmahano jana. No, Janard? That's it. Go ahead, Damodar. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavata tangse pretya bhigachanti Yeke cha mahano janaha. Go ahead. Asurya namate loka. Andena tamasavataha. Tangse pretya bhikachanti. Eche chap mahano janaha. Tamaraj. Asurya namate loka. Andena tamasavataha. Tangse pretya bhikachanti. Yeke chap mahano janaha. Asurya namate loka. Andena tamasavataha. Tangse pretya bhikachanti. Yeche chap mahano janaha. Okay, one note on the pronunciation. On the second and fourth line, we have when the word ends with the H with the dot under it, then we have a little kicker, as you know. But you have to still pronounce that long A when it's a long A. So it's aha. If that long A was a short A without that line over it, that would be aha, tamasavataha. But because it is long, it's tamasavataha. Aha. Got it? Okay, let's move on. So we already did these synonyms, so I'm going to keep reading. I'll read the translation. Translation: the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So Srila Prabhupada continues in his purport. There are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc., whose economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us. But the economic problems of these animals are solved only under nasty and unpleasant conditions. The human being is given all facilities for a comfortable life by the laws of nature because the human form of life is more important and valuable than animal life. Why is man given a better life than that of the swine and other animals? Why is a highly placed government servant given better facilities than those of an ordinary clerk? The answer is that a highly placed officer has to discharge duties of a higher nature. Similarly, the duties human beings have to perform are higher than those of animals, who are always engaged in simply feeding their hungry stomachs. Yet the modern soul-killing civilization has only increased the problems of the hungry stomach. When we approach a polished animal in the form of a modern civilized man and ask him to take interest in self-realization, he will say that he simply wants to work to satisfy his stomach and that there's no need of self-realization for a hungry man. The laws of nature are so cruel, however, that despite his denunciation of the need for self-realization and his eagerness to work hard to fill his stomach, he is always threatened by unemployment. We are given this human form of life not to work hard like asses, swine, and dogs, but to attain the highest perfection of life. If we do not care for self-realization, the laws of nature force us to work very hard, even though we may not want to do so. Human beings in this age have been forced to work hard like the asses and bullocks that pull carts. Some of the regions where the asuras are sent to work are revealed in this verse of Sri Isopanisad. If a man fails to discharge his duties as a human being, he is forced to transmigrate to the Asurya planets and take birth in degraded species of life to work hard in ignorance and darkness. In the Bhagavad Gita 6:41-43, it is stated that a man who enters upon the path of self-realization but does not complete the process, despite having sincerely tried to realize his relationship with God, is given a chance to appear in a family of Shuchi or Shrimat. Who knows what Shuchi means? Shuchi. As opposed to Muchi? It might be Suchi. Maybe this is a misprint. But anyway, so what does it mean? Clean. Yeah, and Shrimat? Yeah, wealthy. That's wealthy. I think you found a mistake in the Isopanisad. All right. I'm going to mark this up. The word Shuchi indicates a spiritually advanced Brahmin and Srimat indicates a Vaishya, a member of the mercantile community. So the person who fails to achieve self-realization is given a better chance in his next life due to his sincere efforts in this life. If even a fallen candidate is given a chance to take birth in a respectable and noble family, one can hardly imagine the status of one who has achieved success. By simply attempting to realize God, one is guaranteed birth in a wealthy or aristocratic family. But those who do not even make an attempt, who want to be covered by illusion, who are too materialistic and too attached to material enjoyment, must enter into the darkest regions of hell, as confirmed throughout the Vedic literature. Such materialistic asuras sometimes make a show of religion, but their ultimate aim is material prosperity. The Bhagavad Gita 16:17-18 rebukes such men by calling them Atma Sambhavita, meaning that they are considered great only on the strength of deception and are empowered by the votes of the ignorant and by their own material wealth. Sound familiar? Empowered by the votes of the ignorant and by their own material wealth. Who does that remind you of? Anyone awake? Don't mention the name. Not the government. Our glorious president. Come on. Such asuras, devoid of self-realization and knowledge of Ishavasya, the Lord's universal proprietorship, are certain to enter into the darkest regions. The conclusion is that as human beings we are meant not simply for solving economic problems on a tottering platform, but for solving all the problems of the material life into which we have been placed by the laws of nature. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. Okay, give me one second. All right. So, this whole purport is geared toward trying to instill in us the need to take human life seriously. This is a central theme throughout the Vedic literature. There's many verses in the Bhagavatam that deal with that. And the Isopanisad is very condensed. There's only 18 mantras or verses with one invocation verse. So he's not mincing any words here. You may remember that we began with a verse about proprietorship. Ishavashamidam savam yatkinchit jagatyam jagat tena chaktena bunjita magudakasisudanam. That everything in this world that we experience is owned and controlled by the Lord. Now that itself is a statement that a lot of people don't accept, but this is something we have to understand and believe. And that everything includes ourselves, our own bodies and minds. Since they're owned by the Lord, they're created. I mean, it's very simple, logical. You look in the 7th chapter, for instance, of the Bhagavad Gita, you'll find that Krishna gives an analysis of what this world is. This is kind of the first step. It's called Sambandha. What am I? What is this world? What are the relationships? Where did it all come from? This basic knowledge undergirds our faith in Krishna and the process of Krishna consciousness. So we should know about this. So there Krishna gives a simple analysis of this material energy. Bhumar, Apa, Onanavayo, Kangmano, Buddhadevacha. These 8 elements, which are not mysterious. We live with them every day. We just may not be aware of it. Earth, when you think earth, think solid matter, liquids, gases, the space that everything lies in, earth, water, fire, like electricity includes fire. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, which is a space. Then the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, discriminating power, and finally the ego, the sense of self. All of these are the building blocks of this material world. No matter where you look, even within our own selves, you'll find a mixture of these two. And sometimes extremely complex organisms, such as our own bodies, that are nothing but these 8 elements, but they're miraculously, amazingly worked, a wonderful machine, and self-repairing the whole thing. So that's the lower energy. Then he says, apare mitastanyam prakatam vidyame param jiva bhutam mahabharyedam dayade jagat. That besides this lower energy, he calls it apara prakriti. Para in general means transcendental or supreme, like paramatma, you see. Para in general means higher rather than lower. So the para prakriti or these 8 are the upara prakriti, the lower inferior energies, material, they're unconscious. That's the material energy. Besides these, there is a superior energy. Who is that? What is that? The soul, the atmas, all the countless living entities. Individual, distinct, they never lose their individuality. This is another important point in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. That we're always distinct. We're kind of like quanta of consciousness. It's like a photon of light and heat coming out of the sun, irreducible. So we're the superior energy. And everything in this world is a combination. Now you may ask, well, how is this table? Where's the living entity in there? Well, it's part of the mass of earth, right? And there is a god of the earth, Bhumi. So that there's a god or goddess behind all of this. There's a god of the waters, god of the air. There's Vayu, there's Varuna, there's Surya for the sun and the light. In other words, there are controlling beings controlling this macro earth, water, fire, ether under the ultimate observation or oversight of Krishna, as he says in the 9th chapter. Maya jakshena prakriti suyate sachadarsanam. What he's describing is prakriti. That's why he calls it para prakriti and apara prakriti. Prakriti being nature. They're my nature. So he says, I'm overseeing as Durga, the goddess in charge of material energy, is creating and maintaining and destroying everything. Maya jakshena prakriti suyate sachadarsanam. The moving and non-moving beings come in, are doing their thing according to prakriti, but I'm overseeing ultimately as my intelligence is running everything. So, since everything that be is a combination of these 2 energies, and these 2 energies are created by Krishna, therefore everything that be is ultimately Krishna's. It's his. It belongs to him. Our disease is that we forget all about Krishna, and we try to dominate our little section of this material energy. It may be a big nation, it may be just a little household, or just our little corner on the street. Whatever it is, we're trying to, this is my place, I have this and I have this, like that. So that's the Asurya Nama. That's the demonic mentality, which can ultimately, create all the conflict and the mass death and all of the craziness that's going on in the world, that has gone on in the world. It's due to our not recognizing Krishna as the supreme proprietor, and that we should engage this energy to our best capacity in his service. I mentioned this before. Some of you may remember it, but I think you won't know about it. This word that we chant so often, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, the word Namaha, right, which means obeisances, right? I offer my obeisances. Prabhu introduced that to our vocabulary. So, physical obeisances, right? That's one way of, and there's different styles of obeisances. The ladies don't generally do it, but the dandavat, complete surrender. Or there's the polite namaha. You go on Indian Airlines, namaste, right? Namaste. I guarantee it's an English word by now. You look up in the dictionary. Namaste means I offer my obeisances to you, but they're not really very serious about that. It's just hello, nice to see you, right? So that's kind of a watered down version. But the real meaning of Nama Om or Namaste is given in the Padma Puran. And there's a book that Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu translated, originally by Sanatana Goswami. It's called, oh God, what is it? I forget what the name of it is now. But it's a series of obeisances in simple Sanskrit verses. None of them are very long, just like the Gita, simple Gita verses. There's quite a few of them, and it's a summary of Krishna's Vrindavan Leela, and interspersed are all of these obeisances. I offer obeisances to you who ran away from your mother, and who killed Bakasura, and all these things. Obeisance. So at the beginning of this book, Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu describes what the inner meaning of the word Nama is, what the real ultimate meaning is, which we should know. So, first he describes the different levels of obeisances and says the real ultimate meaning is to have to do with the dandabats, which means full obeisances, and which everyone knows symbolizes surrender, right? But what the nama means, nama, you divide it in two. Nama means not mine. Not mine. It's almost intuitive, practically English. This body is not mine, it's yours. whether it's you're offering obeisance to the Lord or to the spiritual master or even to the other devotees, you're saying, I'm your servant, right? Just like you sign a letter, your servant, so-and-so. I even have I'll be honest with you, I have a hotkey in my computer. I hit the hotkey and it says, your servant Dravida Das, I try to hit it with devotion and, conscious. But that's the modern way. But really, the etiquette is important. So, but the deep meaning is practically that's the essence of bhakti, is understanding all this body and everything related to that I consider as mine and that is for my pleasure. I'm now recognizing the body itself, what to speak of everything related to the body, belongs to you. Now please engage me in your service. That's bhakti. And so that's why obeisances are so important. It's chipping away at the essence of our attachment to this world, which is the false ego, as I mentioned last night. The false sense of self. I am this body, and the things in relation to this body are mine. This is known as aham mameti. This is one of these little Sanskrit phrases that's good to know. Aham mama iti. Iti means thus. This is my motto for living. I and my. I am this body, and things in relation to the body are mine. Aham mameti. Now, this is the disease. This is called false ego. So how do we reform that? Well, we learned a different conception. I am not this body. I'm a pure spirit soul, and my real identity, as taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and our old Parambara and Krishna, I am constitutionally a servant of God, a servant of Krishna. And therefore, things which have come into my control and are going out of my control quickly, but are presently in my control, I'm going to engage in Krishna's service. And it begins with your own words, your intelligence, your mind, your energy. Krishna, what does he give? 4 things. Prana, artha, dhya, vacha. There's a nice verse in the Bhagavatam where I think the chapter begins with Krishna stealing the clothes of the gopis. Have you ever read that, Paz? You know about it? Okay. Time to read Krishna book. You have Krishna book? You don't have Krishna book? All right, we'll deal with that later. Prabhupada was writing the Bhagavatam, in 1970 or so. That was his focus. He came with the Bhagavatam, you know the story. He came with the first canto. And whenever he had a chance, 12 o'clock at night, no one was bothering him, he would dictate the Bhagavatam. But he saw, as his movement was growing, devotees are getting the Bhagavatam, they have the TLC, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which he gleaned from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But they don't know who Krishna is. They don't know really the pastimes of Krishna. So he stopped everything and he dictated what he called a summary study, which is a running translation with interspersed purport of Krishna's Leela from the 10th canto. And then it was like revolutionary for the movement. Each new book that came out changed the whole movement. Devotees would immediately read it. Said, "Oh, I had no idea Lord Chaitanya taught this." So Krishna book, the devotees could actually read, and they understood, the deep meaning of who they were worshiping. So in the Krishna book, now I forgot why I mentioned that. Anyway, so back to this analysis. So the problem is that we are identifying with this body and we're trying to possess and enjoy and own things related to the body. So the beginning is, I'm not the body, I'm spirit, soul, I'm a servant of Krishna. Oh yes, the pastime. So Krishna stole the clothes of the gopis. Then that chapter is broken, and then there's a second part of the chapter where Krishna is walking around Vrindavan with his friends, and he's praising the trees. You ever remember this? He's praising the trees. How glorious are these trees? Look, they're so tolerant. The blasting winter comes and they don't complain. The woodsman come and chops them down. They don't complain. And they just give. They give their fruit. They give the flowers. They give the wood. They give the bark. They give the shade. They're always giving. How magnanimous are the trees. And so then he spoke a verse describing the essence, how we should live our lives. How can you make your life fruitful? Etava janmasa palyam. Pala means fruit. Janma means birth. Here's how to make your birth fruitful, he says to his friends and to us. Etava janmasa palyam dehinam iha dehishu pranar artha dhya vacha shreya acharanam sada. So it's etava janmasa palyam, how to make your birth fruitful. For all the other embodied souls, each soul should use as much as possible of his prana, his life force, his wealth, his intelligence, and his words. You think about it, it takes up most of what we can offer to Krishna in varieties. For what? For Shreya Acharanam, for doing good for others. Now, he doesn't say specifically they're giving him Krishna consciousness. That's in another place. But in general, one should have this giving attitude, is that basically give it to Krishna. But you want to make Krishna happy. And Krishna says, okay, you want to make me happy? Give everyone else Krishna consciousness. That's the main thing. Yes, give me the fruits and flowers. I like that. That's good. And chant Hare Krishna. But as well, for all of the other embodied souls who are in ignorance, who are also my children, you give them the knowledge by which they can come back to me. That pleases him the most. And that's the essence of the Sankirtan movement. So you can see how that's directly opposite to the false ego, aham mameti, which ultimately comes to the Asuriya platform. The asuras, the demons, is that they're totally self-centered. What is the phrase they use to describe our glorious leader? What is it? Some kind of narcissism. It's narcissism that's geared toward hurting others. It's completely self-centered, without any empathy, and everything is measured by me. Is it good for me or not? Am I getting praised or not? Like that. That's totally demonic, and that takes you to hellish existence. There's a lot of suffering there, both during this life and the next life. Whereas if you're always giving and helping others, even if you're very poor, you're peaceful. People like you. What did it say about the Goswamis? The very first verse, right? Is it? No. Krishnod kirtan the Gananath premamitam bodhi. Dira dira jana priyopi akaroni matsaro pujita. Dira dira. Even what to speak of the devotees and people in the mode of goodness and Brahmins, they love them. And even the adirs, even the ruffians is described, they also like them. Because here's somebody who's coming, he has nothing, but he has a big smile on his face and he's ready to give you good instruction. In other words, their very being was love and compassion. So they were dear to everybody. And they're completely in total bliss, Even though they had nothing material, just the opposite of the demons who try to get as much as possible, right? And as miserable as can be, because they're always afraid in the mode of ignorance and passion. So they had nothing, gave it all up, but says gopi bhavara samatabdalari kalola magnomoha, that they're again and again diving and surfacing in the ocean of the greatest bliss of the gopis' love for Krishna. So that's the alternative. That's the complete opposite of what's being described here. So let's just run through this purport, other aspects that Srila Prabhupada mentioned. So the main thing is to understand the importance of human life. So we began. Okay. Well, I'm losing my place here. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah. Okay. So it begins by this, contrasting human life. It begins where we read with that of the lower animals. The animals they're just going through. They're not sinful, but they're receiving the reactions of sinful activities that they performed in human life. So he says their economic necessities are just as important. They don't have economic necessities, but they have necessities, that they take just as seriously. They got to get the food, got to get safety. Basically 4 things: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. They take really seriously. So, but their life is under nasty conditions. So human life is meant to be given to lead a peaceful life and to fulfill the needs as simply as possible, and to save the time and the energy for self-realization. That's actually what civilization is all about. But you can see how we've blown it here. So a human being has a greater responsibility, just as a highly placed officer has a greater duty to perform. So Prabhupada, he described, when we approach a polished animal in the form of modern civilized man. So this is coming from Prabhupada's direct experience, because most of his preaching at that time, in fact, this Isopanisad was serialized in his Back to Godhead magazine. Prabhupada published it at great effort. Oftentimes there was a choice: am I going to print my little paper called Back to Godhead magazine, like 6 or 8 pages of newsprint? That's the magazine.
or am I going to eat breakfast? And he would consistently print the paper and go out and distribute it himself, sometimes blazing hot. In Delhi he had a heat stroke one time. And he's meeting people on the street. He's the first book distributor in the whole movement, obviously. And that's what he's saying here. We approach a polished animal, in other words, his compatriots, modern civilized man, asks him to take interest. He says, no, he simply wants to work to satisfy the stomach. Another place says, no time. No time because I'm too involved in getting and spending and doing what I have to do. So, but the laws of nature are so cruel. In other words, the problems of human life don't go away just because you ignore them, right? Old age, disease, and death, the threefold miseries. If you cut yourself off from the spiritual reality and the source of real happiness, then you're going to be miserable no matter how rich you are. So but this is the demonic mentality. They don't believe. Asatyam apratishtam te jagadahu anisharam. This is one of the verses in the 16th chapter, where Krishna is describing the demonic mentality. Asatyam. There's no absolute truth. There's no ultimate. Everything is relatives. Apratishtam te. No foundation on which everything is based. It's all just a combination of atoms combining according to chance, and after billions and trillions of years, a couple of atoms get together and they form the first one-celled organism. For more billions of years, sunlight coming down, and then they get together and we have the paramecium, and gradually you come up and we have the human beings. That's the idea. That's what I learned in school. Is it anything different? It's all by chance. There's no higher intelligence. Intelligent design is like a dirty word, right? It's like as soon as you say intelligent design, which we live by intelligent design, isn't that what? You're so benighted. That's creationism. That's coming from the Bible. We don't believe. We're scientific. We know. There's no such being like that. That's the demonic mentality. But kimanyat kama hoitikam. And because they believe like that, there's no ultimate basis for morality and ethics. There's nothing. And that's why human society goes off the rails so much. Fascism and this thing and craziness and racism. Why not? There's no ultimate measure. We can do whatever we want. But you can't do whatever you want. The laws of nature will capture you and throw you down into the hellish existence. That's what this verse is all about. So we're given the human form of life, and just one or two verses, statements Prabhu would make. I was just going through this one from the 87th chapter, which is, love this verse. I may forget exactly how it goes, but this is one of these amazing prayers of the personified Vedas. Twananupatam kulai mindamatma surit priyavach. Chadatittatom raketvi hite priyapanicha. Nabadadamantaho asadopasanayab mahano yadanushriyab brahme urubaye kushariribata. So the personified Veda is praying to Mahavishnu. It says, the human form of life is especially suited to serving you. Twadanupatam kulaimin. And when one does that, then his body becomes very dear and is actually kind of a part of the paraphernalia for serving the Lord. Just like we take care of the brass so carefully, we polish it, because it's used for serving Krishna. And Tulsi is so dear because she's pure servant, So your body becomes part of your paraphernalia, so you don't disregard it or, you take good care of it. Not extreme, but what it needs, So everything, and you, inside the body as a super soul, you become very happy and you're guiding and everything is fine. But alas, nabadadamantaho, those who don't take pleasure in serving you, they try to get pleasure directly from the senses. Asadupasanaya, this is such a great phrase. Asadupasanaya mahano. Asad upasanaya means worshipping the impermanent. Worshipping the impermanent. Mammon, isn't it in the Bible? And atmahano, which is veritable suicide for the soul. Didn't we just have a verse? That's part of this verse, isn't it? Atmahano, the same phrase. In other words, you can't kill the soul, but you can bury it in ignorance for so many millions of years of births, but losing the opportunity. So then what's the result? Instead of this auspicious a fortunate human body which is designed for self-realization, then Yadunushaye Brahman, you wander amongst different bodies which are inauspicious and very fearful, causing a fear. Animal bodies, they're always in anxiety. Kushadira Brita. Brita means bearing. We're bearing the burden of a physical body because we've left the spiritual world. It's like we're little tiny, minuscule souls, and we're bearing this body. Imagine like the redwood tree and the elephant and the whale, big body, and imprisoned by that body because they don't have the opportunity for the intelligence. So this is a warning to us to use the human form of life properly and escape from this prison house of the physical body. So, where was I? Okay, and then the Bhagavad Gita rebukes such men by calling them Atma Sambhavita. So this is another thing in the first quality of the demons is that they're frauds. Dambo Darpo Bimanas is that the demons don't want to look like demons. They want to be honored as good people, right? And so there's all of this, false going to church, looking like you're religious. I mean, every week now, it's been going on for a long time. Some scandal appears, some child abuse or something, misapplication of funds, among established religion. It can be scandal because they don't have the process by which you can really get on the spiritual platform and become actually detached from material things. So it's very easy to get enamored of your position, whether it be in a religious institution or whatever it may be, and misuse that. But you have to look like you're moral, see? So this is the main thing with the demons. They want to look like they're good people. No one likes to be called a demon, even the demons. But so therefore, they're damba. Damba means fraud, it means hypocrisy. So that's Atma Sambhavita, meaning they are considered great only on the strength of deception and are empowered by the votes of the ignorant by their own material wealth. So this is the thing, the great wise man, Marx. I told you I was raised as a Marxist. Well, I'm talking about Karl Marx. I'm talking about Groucho Marx. Have you ever heard of Groucho Marx? Oh, you know? The younger generation. No? You got to be over 50. Anyway, he was a comedian. And I think, was it during the silent days too, some of his stuff? Anyway, so he would, but then they came in with the talkies, and so he would say things, jokes. So this is the one I remember, it's pertinent to this. So he said that for politics, the main thing you have to have is sincerity. If you can fake that, you got it made. Think about it. Isn't that what the law is? So that's the demons, exactly what Krishna says. So devoid of self-realization and the sense of Ishavasya, that God owns everything, they're certain to enter the darkest regions. The conclusion is that as human beings, we're meant not simply for solving economic problems on a tottering platform of this body, but for solving all the problems of the material life into which we have been placed by the laws of nature. So the only way to solve those problems is transcend the laws of nature, to get out of the grip of the material energy. And it's only possible by serving Krishna. This material world, which composed of these three modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, we can discuss that in another class and read chapter 14, is impossible to transcend or overcome on one's own. We're constantly making the effort and we're constantly failing. But if one surrenders unto me, you can easily cross beyond it. Why? Because, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's run by a person. Krishna's material energy, Durga, who's an expansion of Radharani, by the way. And her job, what do you say, thankless task, thank you, is to be the prison warden. Durga means prison, can't go. Durga means can't go anywhere, can't leave this. You may go here and there within the prison, but you can't go out of the prison. So, but she was a servant of Krishna. And if he says, okay, this one is, surrendering to me, now you release. And it's proportional. The proportional, as you begin surrender, you can feel the material energy. And what's her ropes that she keeps us bound with? Material desire, and inducing you to try to enjoy here and become entrapped. And that brings up the last verse I'm going to quote today, which is from Gajendra the elephant. Have you ever heard of that pastime? No. Srimad Bhagavatam. You know about that a little bit. Gajendra. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but he was this great elephant on the heavenly planets, and he loved to just swim in the Gandakini river, and then he got captured by a crocodile in the river. He couldn't get out, and he battled for 1,000 years, and finally all he could do was rip a lotus from that river and offer it to Vishnu. The verses he had remembered from previous life when he was Indrajumna, got cursed to be an elephant. He remembered some of them and started offering the prayer. And so within those prayers is this one that I memorized, which is just struck me right in the heart. So I was looking it up today, I reviewed it. Ekanti no yasya na kanchanatam vanchanti yevai bhagavat papanna atyadbhutam tat charitam sumangalam gayanta ananda samudra magna. So ananda samudra magna means immersing oneself in an ocean of ecstasy. So how can we do that? That's described in this verse. The first is ekantino. One has to be one-pointed devotee of the Lord, fixed. And the measure of that is you don't want anything else. You have no material desires. This is the Niskinchana platform. Ekantino nakanchanatam vanchanti yevai bhagavat prapanna, a surrendered soul to Bhagavan, Krishna. Then when such a person, ati adbhutam means extremely amazing. Charitam means lila. When such a person hears and chants and sings the extremely amazing and astounding pastimes of Krishna, then ananda samudra magna, he immerses him or himself in an ocean of ecstasy. So that's what bhakti is trying to do. We're trying to sublimate or redirect all these material desires into serving Krishna, so that we're left with no material desires. And then our hearts are pure enough when we hear or chant the holy name or anything related to Krishna or Leela, it's just pure nectar. We never want to stop. And that's the ocean of ecstasy. So that's the opposite of the Asuras. They don't want to hear the name of Krishna. Hiranyakashipu practically killed his son when he just told him to surrender to Hari. That's the exact opposite, because that means that my power is compromised. So this is we don't want to go in that direction. So that we finish, we'll do text mantra 4 next time. Any comments or questions on these points? Okay. Yes. Yeah.
You were talking about quoting the verse of Krishna saying it's important to basically make other people devotees to give.
Yes.
To give.
Prana artha devaccha, yeah.
So there's like some devotees say, like for example, Parameshwar Prabhu were very heavy and had strong words against like devotees that would just stay in the temple and not really go out. They would just, he has his things he would say. But then other devotees, staying in the temple and taking care of the deities, it's also preaching. So what's your stance on it?
The thing is, it's dangerous to, I don't know, they want to use this phrase, be judgmental, because we're judging all the time. We should be judging ourselves mostly. But there's a role to play for all kinds of devotees. There is certainly a role to play for devotees who are full-time pujaris and cooks and things like that. But we should see in all of our services, and it's certainly true for anyone who takes care of the temple or does temple service, that there's an important preaching element to it. Just like the cleanliness of the temple, it's supposed to be revolutionary clean. Well, we have a long way to go, So the idea is that we should feel that we're part of the Sankirtan movement, and when we get a chance, we should go out, Harinam, and if we can do some book distribution to experience that aspect of our devotional service. And it's not helpful to be condemnatory, I mean, there has to be a certain amount of pushing, but it's a question of who's going to do the pushing, and in what mood is it going to be done in, you know? Well, this is one of the great values of being in a tight, you know, community, a serious community of devotees, is that there's peer pressure and there's you know, hopefully loving pressure to progress on the path, because there's all of this you know, weight and ballast that we've developed over so many millions of births that is trying to weigh us down and, you know, pull us back into the ocean of the material life. So as Prabhupada said very cogently, when you take up Krishna consciousness, it's a declaration of war against Maya, and Maya is very strong. So the value of the temple is that there's direction, there's structure, there's do's and don'ts, and there's someone who to tell you what to do, you know, and, you know, encourage you in the proper way to do it, so you don't feel like you're being crushed underfoot, but that it's done in a way that you feel, yeah, this is helpful. I need this. This is why I'm here. So you know, I mean, he's a great hero of Sankirtan. There's no question about it. I offer all obeisances to Parameshwar. But you know, how you try to help others to taste the nectar of book distribution in Sankirtan, that's also part of the maturity. And it doesn't do any help to just condemn those who are just working in the temple, you know, like that. So there's an art to how to do it properly, so that everyone feels uplifted by the instruction. And I would say that's something that we should be careful of. But it's true that the movement thrives when we feel the need and the urgency, and it's a sign of advancement, to give Krishna consciousness to others. That it's an ongoing emergency situation. And it's, you know, I know the book dealers, you know, the serious book distributors feel that way. Whoa, there's all these people. I could be out there, you know. People are walking, they're hellish, you know, they're walking right into this verse we just read in the Isopanisad. So if they get the book, or they just touch it, they read one word, what to speak if they take the book, they could be saved from that. So when you feel that kind of urgency, that's a sign of real advancement, you know. And those serious book treaters, they do. That's why they go on, you know, year after year after year. You know, and they're well situated. So it's you know, there's something to it, but it has to be done properly, or you can discourage people. And it's so easy to leave. Where is so and so? Oh, he left. And, you know, she left because, you know, she felt uncared for or whatever. You know, every service is valuable, and really a temple is itself a great preaching institution. You know, and Prabhupada said it. You can find plenty of quotes. To dress the deities beautifully, and so people walk in, you know, all they do is walk in the temple and they feel they appreciate the beauty. They've taken a very important step forward. That's a direct quote from Prabhupada, just by appreciating the beauty of the deities. So how can you condemn the pujaris? They're all doing wonderful service. So that's, you know, that's the attitude of the devotee, to really appreciate everybody's service and try to get them to move forward. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.